Welcome back to Chat Like a Native, where we help you unlock the secrets to speaking English fluently and confidently. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that can instantly make your English sound more vibrant and engaging. Ditching overused words. If you're tired of sounding like a broken record and ready to express yourself with more color and personality, you're in the right place.
I think a lot of English learners hit this wall where they can communicate, but their vocabulary feels stuck in a rut.
Interesting.
It's like they're playing the same few notes on a piano when there's a whole symphony waiting to be unleashed.
I totally get it.
Yeah.
It's like you know enough English to get by.
Right.
But you want to go beyond the basics and sound more natural, more like a native speaker.
Yeah.
So why does this matter so much?
Well,
Is choosing different words?
really going to make that big of a difference?
It absolutely can.
Okay.
Think of it this way.
All right.
If you were painting a picture, would you only use one shade of blue?
No.
Or would you want a whole range of blues
Right.
to capture the subtle differences in the sky, the water, the shadows?
Okay.
Language is similar.
Interesting.
The more colors you have on your palette, the more vivid and nuanced your expression becomes.
Okay, that makes sense. But how do we even know which words are holding us back?
Right.
What exactly are these overused words we need to ditch?
Well, they're the words we hear everywhere. The ones that have become almost invisible.
Okay.
Because we're so used to them.
Interesting.
Words like nice,
Oh, yeah. Good.
bad, very really.
Right.
They get the job done.
Yeah.
But they lack precision and personality. Oh, I'm definitely guilty of overusing and really.
Yeah.
It's like my default setting for adding emphasis.
Right.
The food was very good. That movie was really interesting.
And that's a common pattern.
Yeah.
Especially for learners who are focused on grammatical accuracy.
Right.
But remember, fluency is about more than just getting the grammar right.
Okay.
It's about using language
Right.
that's both accurate and engaging.
So how do we break free from this very and really habit?
Right.
Is it just a matter of finding fancier synonyms?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Sometimes a simple word is the best choice.
Right.
But let's take very as an example.
Okay.
Instead of saying very tired,
Yeah.
what if you said exhausted or worn out
Interesting.
instead of very happy?
Uh-huh.
How about delighted,
Right.
thrilled, or ecstatic?
Okay.
These alternatives carry more emotional weight
Yeah.
and paint a more vivid picture
Well,
for the listener.
you're right. Those words have so much more energy and personality than just adding very in front of a basic adjective.
Exactly.
Like it.
It's about choosing words that match the intensity and nuance of what you want to express.
Right.
And that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are some strategies we can use to expand our vocabulary
Yeah.
and ditch those overused words for good?
There are many paths you can take.
Okay.
One that might surprise you is focusing on word families.
Word families.
Yeah.
What are those?
Think of it like a family tree
Okay.
for words.
Right.
You have the root word like happy.
Yeah.
And then all its branches. Like
Right.
happiness. Happily, unhappy.
Yeah.
Unhappily.
Yeah.
Learning these related words not only expands your vocabulary, but also helps you understand how words are formed
Right.
and how their meanings connect.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I never thought about it that way, but it makes so much sense by learning the root and its variations.
Yeah.
You're essentially unlocking a whole network of words at once.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's like getting a vocabulary bonus.
I like it.
And speaking of bonuses, let's talk about another powerful tool,
Okay.
the thesaurus.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to admit,
Mm-hmm.
I've had a love-hate relationship with thesauruses. They can be helpful
Right?
for finding synonyms,
Yeah.
but sometimes I end up choosing words that sound completely out of place.
That's a common trap.
Yeah.
The thesaurus is a powerful tool, but it needs to be used thoughtfully.
Okay.
It's not about blindly swapping
Right.
one word for another.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the subtle shades of meaning and choosing the word that best fits the context and tone
Yeah.
of what you're trying to say.
So how do we avoid falling into that trap.
Right.
How do we know if we're choosing the right synonym
Yeah.
from the thesaurus?
One helpful tip is to look beyond just the list of synonyms and pay attention to the example sentences. Provided they can give you valuable clues about how a word is typically used and what kind of context it fits best.
That's a great tip.
Yeah.
Often just glance at the list of synonyms without really paying attention to the example sentences.
But those sentences can be gold mines of information.
Okay.
They show you how a word behaves in the wild, so to speak.
Interesting.
For instance, you might find buoyant as a synonym for happy.
Right.
But seeing it in a sentence like the children were ebullient as they opened their presents gives you a much clearer sense of its meaning and appropriate usage.
I can see how that would be so helpful. It's not just about finding a fancier word.
Yeah.
It's about finding the word.
Right.
That fits the situation perfectly.
Exactly.
Okay.
And speaking of fitting things perfectly, let's talk about another crucial aspect of choosing the right words.
Okay.
Context.
Context. I've definitely had my share of awkward moments from using a word in the wrong context. Like that time I tried to compliment my friend's new haircut by saying it was sick. Thinking it was a cool slang term.
Right.
Turns out she thought I meant she looked ill.
Oh, dear.
Oops.
Well, that's a perfect example of how important context is.
Right.
A word that might be perfectly acceptable in one setting could be totally inappropriate in another. For example, using slang with friends is fine, but it's probably not a good idea in a job interview or a formal presentation.
Right. It's like wearing a swimsuit to a wedding.
Exactly. Yeah. And just like we choose our clothes based on the situation, we need to choose our words based on the context, the audience, and the purpose of our communication.
Okay, so we've talked about word families, thesauruses, and context.
Right.
What other tools or techniques can we use to expand our vocabulary and sound more like native speakers?
There's a whole world of resources out there, from traditional methods like reading to more modern approaches like language learning apps and websites.
Ooh. I love the idea of using technology to boost our vocabulary. Tell me more about those apps and websites. What are some of the cool features they offer?
There are so many options available these days.
Wow.
Some apps have gamified quizzes and flashcard systems that make learning new words fun and interactive.
Okay.
Others focus on building vocabulary through contextual learning, where you encounter new words within stories or articles.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
It's like having a personal vocabulary coach right in your pocket. But with so many options out there, it can be overwhelming to know where to start.
Yeah.
Any tips for choosing the right app or website?
One thing to consider is your learning style. If you're a visual learner, you might prefer apps that use images or videos to help you remember new words. If you're more auditory, you might enjoy podcasts or audio lessons that focus on pronunciation and listening comprehension.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
It's about finding a tool that matches your learning preferences and keeps you engaged.
Yeah.
But even with the best apps and websites, I imagine it still takes effort and dedication to actually incorporate those new words into our everyday language.
Right. Okay. Technology can be a fantastic aid, but it's not a magic bullet. Right. The real magic happens when you actively use those new words in your speaking and writing.
So how do we make that happen?
Right.
How do we go beyond just memorizing words and actually start using them naturally in conversations?
Well, one of the most effective ways is to create opportunities for practice.
Right.
Think about situations where you can consciously use the new words you're learning. Maybe it's writing a blog post, having a conversation with a language partner, or even just talking to yourself in the mirror.
I love that idea of talking to yourself in the mirror. It might feel a little silly at first, but it's a great way to get comfortable using those new words out loud.
Exactly. And remember, the more you practice, the more natural it will become. It's like learning a new dance move. At first, it feels awkward and unfamiliar, but with repetition, it becomes smooth and effortless.
I'm feeling inspired to step onto the vocabulary dance floor and start practicing those new moves. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to touch on something that I think a lot of learners struggle with, myself included. Feeling self-conscious about using new words. What if we mispronounce them or use them in the wrong way? It's so much easier to just stick with the words we know we're comfortable with.
I understand that feeling completely. It's natural to feel a bit hesitant at first, especially when you're stepping outside of your comfort zone. But remember, making mistakes is part of the learning process. In fact, it's essential for growth.
So it's better to try and maybe stumble a bit?
Absolutely, and to not try at all.
Think of it this way. Every time you use a new word, you're strengthening your connection with it. You're training your brain to recognize it, pronounce it, and use it correctly. And even if you make a mistake, it's an opportunity to learn and improve.
That's a great way to reframe it. Instead of seeing mistakes as failures, we can view them as stepping stones on our path to fluency.
This has been such an encouraging conversation so far. I'm feeling more motivated than ever.
That's fantastic.
To ditch those overused words and embrace the challenge of expanding my vocabulary.
And we're just getting started.
Oh, awesome.
In the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore even more strategies for integrating new vocabulary into your daily life.
Great.
And making it a natural part of your English repertoire.
Stay tuned, everyone. We'll be back with even more tips and insights to help you chat like a native.
So we've talked about some active ways to boost your vocabulary. But what about those times when you're not actively studying?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Can you still be learning?
It's like passively working out your vocabulary muscles.
Exactly. And one of the best ways to do this is through active listening.
Active listening. So it's not just about hearing words. But really paying attention to how they're used.
Precisely. Think about all the English you encounter in your daily life. Movies, TV shows, music podcasts, even conversations you overhear. These are all opportunities to absorb new vocabulary and learn how native speakers use language naturally.
I love that. It's like turning our everyday experiences into vocabulary lessons. But how do we make this active listening thing work? In practice, do we need to carry a notebook around and jot down every new word we hear?
It doesn't have to be that formal. But being mindful is key. Next time you're watching a movie or listening to a podcast, pay attention to the words and phrases that stand out to you. Don't just let them wash over you. Pause, rewind. Maybe even write down a few interesting expressions. And look them up later.
So it's about training our ears to be more attuned to the nuances of language.
Exactly.
I like that. But let's say we come across a word we've never seen before. Is it always best to immediately look it up in a dictionary?
Not necessarily. Sometimes you can figure out the meaning of a word from the context. Pay attention to the words and phrases around it. They often provide clues that can help you decipher the meaning without needing a dictionary.
That's a great point. It's like being a language detective, piecing together clues to solve the mystery of an unknown word.
Exactly. And that kind of active engagement with language can be incredibly rewarding. It's not just about memorizing definitions. It's about developing a deeper understanding of how words work and how they connect to each other.
I'm starting to see how all these strategies fit together. It's like we're building a vocabulary toolkit with different compartments for different tools and techniques.
I love that analogy.
I like it.
And speaking of tools, let's talk about another one that can be incredibly helpful. Etymology.
Etymology. I'm not sure I'm familiar with that term. What is it?
It's the study of the origin of words and how their meanings have evolved over time. It might sound a bit academic, but trust me, it can be fascinating and it can really boost your vocabulary power.
I'm intrigued. How does knowing the history of a word help us learn new vocabulary?
Many English words have roots in Latin, Greek, or other languages.
Right.
By learning those roots, you can often unlock the meaning of a whole family of words at once.
Interesting.
For example, the Latin root port means to carry. So if you know that, you can easily figure out the meaning of words like transport, import, export, report, and support.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like cracking a secret code that unlocks a whole treasure chest of words.
Exactly.
Cool.
And it can make learning new vocabulary so much easier and more efficient.
Right.
Plus, it's just fun to discover the hidden stories behind the words we use every day.
I'm starting to see how etymology can be a real game changer for vocabulary building.
Right, yeah.
It's not just about memorizing individual words.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the underlying patterns and connections that give language its richness and depth.
Precisely.
And speaking of richness and depth, let's talk about another powerful way to incorporate new vocabulary into your English.
Yeah, writing. I have to admit, I haven't always thought of writing as a vocabulary building tool.
Right.
I tend to focus more on speaking practice.
But writing can be incredibly valuable.
Okay.
For solidifying your vocabulary and developing a more nuanced understanding of how words work together.
Okay.
When you write, you have more time to think about your word choices.
Right.
To experiment with different synonyms and to really craft your sentences.
Yeah. With precision and clarity.
Okay.
It's like a workout for your vocabulary muscles.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like the difference between improvising a speech on the spot and carefully crafting a written statement. With writing, you have more time to reflect and refine your language.
Exactly. Right. And the best part is there are so many different forms of writing you can explore.
Right.
You could start a blog, write short stories, keep a journal, or even just compose thoughtful emails to friends and family.
Right.
The key is to find a format that you enjoy and that allows you to experiment with new vocabulary in a meaningful way.
I love those suggestions.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to start a blog, and now I have even more motivation to give it a try.
Right.
It's a perfect opportunity to put my newfound vocabulary skills to the test.
That's a fantastic idea.
Thanks.
And as you write, don't be afraid to challenge yourself.
Yeah, great.
Try incorporating those new words and phrases you've been learning.
Right.
See if you can use them in different contexts and experiment with different grammatical structures.
Okay, you've inspired me.
Yeah.
I'm going to dust off my keyboard and start writing. But let's be real.
Right.
Even if we're diligently reading, using our thesauruses wisely, and practicing our new vocabulary and writing, there's still a chance we might slip back into those old habits, right? It's so easy to fall back on those overused words without even realizing it.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's like trying to break any bad habit. It takes conscious effort and constant vigilance.
Right.
But there are a few things we can do to make it easier to stick to our vocabulary goals.
Okay. I'm all ears. What are some strategies for staying on track and avoiding those vocabulary pitfalls?
One of the most effective techniques is to become more aware of your language patterns.
Right.
Pay attention to the words and phrases you tend to overuse.
Yeah.
You might even want to keep a little vocabulary journal where you jot down those overused words and brainstorm some alternatives.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's like having a personal vocabulary coach who's always there to gently nudge us in the right direction.
Exactly. Yeah. And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about progress.
Right.
Every time you catch yourself using an overused word and consciously replace it with a more specific or expressive alternative, you're taking a step closer to fluency and confidence.
I love that mindset. It's about celebrating the small wins. And recognizing that even baby steps can lead to big results.
Exactly. And speaking of baby steps, let's talk about another important aspect of avoiding overuse pitfalls.
Yeah.
Starting small and staying consistent.
Okay. I'm sensing a theme here. It seems that consistency is key when it comes to vocabulary building.
Right.
But how do we make it a sustainable habit?
Yeah.
How do we avoid feeling overwhelmed by trying to learn too much at once?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And the answer is simple.
Okay.
Don't try to do too much too soon.
Got it.
Start with small, achievable goals.
Okay.
Like learning a few new words each day or focusing on a particular word family or theme.
So it's more about quality than quantity.
Absolutely. But when it comes to vocabulary learning,
it's about making small, consistent deposits into your vocabulary bank rather than trying to make a huge lump sum investment all at once. Remember, language learning is a marathon,
right?
Not a sprint.
That's such a helpful analogy.
I like it.
It reminds me that it's not about cramming a bunch of words into my brain all at once. It's about cultivating a love of language and making vocabulary enrichment a natural part of my daily life.
Exactly.
And speaking of making it a part of your daily life, let's talk about another fun way to boost your vocabulary. Integrating it into your hobbies and interests.
Ooh, I love that idea.
Yeah.
Tell me more about how we can combine our passions with vocabulary learning.
Right.
What are some examples?
Well, think about the things you already enjoy doing.
Right.
Watching movies, listening to music, reading books, playing games, cooking, traveling, whatever it may be.
Okay.
These are all fantastic opportunities to expand your vocabulary.
I'm starting to see how this works. For example, if I love watching cooking shows, I could pay attention to the culinary vocabulary used by the chefs.
Yeah.
Or if I'm into fashion, I could read fashion blogs and magazines to pick up new words related to clothing, design, and trends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about making those connections between your interests and your language learning goals.
Right.
And the best part is it doesn't feel like work. Because you're already doing something you enjoy.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's like sneaking in a vocabulary workout while having fun. But how do we make sure we're actually retaining those new words?
Yeah.
And not just letting them fly in one ear and out the other?
Well, one helpful tip is to be more active in your engagement with the material.
Right.
Don't just passively watch or listen.
Okay.
Pause.
Yeah.
Rewind. Take notes. Look up words you don't know. And most importantly, try to use those new words in your own conversation. Writing.
So it's about turning our passive consumption of information into active learning experiences.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, sometimes I feel a little self-conscious about using new words in conversation.
Yeah.
It's like I'm afraid of sounding pretentious or using them incorrectly.
I understand that feeling completely.
Yeah.
It's natural to feel a bit hesitant at first, especially when you're stepping outside of your comfort zone.
Right.
But remember, the goal of language is to communicate, not to impress.
So it's better to try and maybe make a few mistakes.
Absolutely. Okay. Along the way than to not try at all.
Think of it this way.
Yeah.
Every time you use a new word, you're giving it a test drive. You're seeing how it feels in your mouth.
Right.
How it sounds in your ears. And how it's received by others. And even if you make a mistake, it's an opportunity to learn and improve.
That's a great way to reframe it.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing mistakes as failures, we can view them as stepping stones on our path to fluency.
This has been such an encouraging and eye-opening conversation. I'm feeling so motivated.
That's fantastic.
To ditch those overused words.
Yeah.
And embrace the challenge of expanding my vocabulary.
Right.
But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
I
want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier. About starting small and staying consistent. What are some practical tips?
That's a great question.
For incorporating vocabulary learning into our daily routines without feeling overwhelmed?
The good news is that it doesn't have to be complicated or time-consuming.
Right.
Even just dedicating a few minutes each day can make a big difference over time.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are some small steps we can take to make vocabulary building a sustainable habit?
One simple yet powerful technique is to create a word of the day ritual.
I love that idea.
Choose a new word each morning look up its definition and pronunciation, and then try to use it throughout the day in your conversations and writing.
It's like giving our brains a little vocabulary boost each morning.
And you can find Word of the Day features on many language learning apps and websites, or you can simply choose words from books, articles, or podcasts you're enjoying.
That's so easy and accessible.
Yeah.
What are some other bite-sized vocabulary habits we can incorporate into our daily lives?
Another great strategy is to use flashcards or vocabulary lists, but with a twist.
Okay, interesting.
Instead of just memorizing definitions, create personalized examples that are relevant to your interests or goals.
Nice.
For instance, if you're learning the word exquisite, instead of just memorizing the dictionary definition, you could create a sentence like, the chef's presentation was exquisite, with each element of the dish arranged, like a work of art.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about making those connections between abstract vocabulary words and our own personal experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when you personalize those examples, the words become more meaningful and memorable.
These are such practical and inspiring tips.
Yeah.
I'm feeling so motivated.
That's fantastic.
To ditch those overused words and embrace the challenge of expanding my vocabulary.
Right. And remember, the journey of vocabulary enrichment is full of exciting discoveries and unexpected rewards.
This has been such an incredible deep dive into the world of vocabulary.
Yeah.
I'm feeling so energized and equipped to take my English fluency to the next level.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Thanks.
And remember, the most important thing is to have fun with it.
Okay.
The more you enjoy the process, the more naturally those new words will become part of your everyday language.
We've covered so many fantastic strategies for enriching our vocabulary.
Right.
From etymology to active listening to incorporating new words into our writing. But before we wrap up our deep dive, I'd love to explore the long-term benefits of all this effort.
Yeah.
It's about more than just sounding impressive, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
A strong vocabulary is a powerful tool that can unlock doors in all areas of your life.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
It can boost your confidence, enhance your communication skills, and even deepen your understanding of the world around you.
Let's unpack those benefits one by one.
Okay.
How does a richer vocabulary boost our confidence?
Imagine walking into a room. Knowing you have the words to express yourself clearly and effectively. That sense of mastery over language translates into confidence in your ability to communicate and connect with others.
I could definitely see that.
It empowers you to participate actively in conversations, share your ideas with conviction, and even navigate challenging situations with grace and composure.
When you feel confident in your ability to communicate, you're more likely to take risks, to step outside of your comfort zone, and to truly shine in any setting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that confidence can have a ripple effect in all areas of your life, from your personal relationships to your professional endeavors.
So it's not just about sounding smarter. It's about feeling more empowered and self-assured in our interactions with others. I love that.
Okay.
What about the impact on our communication skills? How does a broader vocabulary make us more effective communicators?
Think of language as a toolbox. The more tools you have at your disposal, the more effectively you can tackle any communication task. A richer vocabulary allows you to express yourself with greater precision, nuance, and clarity. Both in spoken and written English. You're able to paint vivid pictures with your words, convey complex ideas with ease, and persuade others with eloquence and impact.
It's like having a wider range of colors on an artist's palette. You can create a more vibrant and captivating masterpiece. And that ability to communicate effectively is essential for success at any field. Whether you're giving a presentation, writing a report, negotiating a deal, or simply having a meaningful conversation. A strong vocabulary empowers you to articulate your thoughts and ideas with confidence and impact. This is all starting to make so much sense. But I'm curious about the last benefit you mentioned. deepening our understanding of the world.
Yeah.
How does expanding our vocabulary lead to a greater understanding of everything around us?
As you learn new words, you're not just expanding your linguistic repertoire.
Right.
You're also expanding your cognitive horizons.
Okay.
Each new word opens a window into a new concept, idea, or experience.
Interesting.
It allows you to make connections between seemingly disparate things, to see patterns you might have missed before, and to appreciate the richness and complexity of the world around you.
It's like each new word is a key.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
It unlocks a new door to knowledge and understanding.
And that expanded understanding can enrich not only your intellectual life, but also your emotional and social intelligence. It allows you to connect with others on a deeper level, to empathize with different perspectives, and to navigate the complexities of human relationships with greater sensitivity and awareness.
This has been such an illuminating conversation. I'm feeling so inspired.
That's fantastic.
To keep investing in my vocabulary journey. But before we wrap up, I'd love to hear your final words of wisdom for our listeners. What's the one message you want them to take away from our deep dive?
If there's one thing I hope you'll remember, it's this. Expanding your vocabulary is an investment in yourself.
Wow.
It's a gift you give to your future self, a future where you can communicate with confidence, connect with others on a deeper level, and navigate the world with greater understanding and ease. So embrace the challenge. Enjoy the journey and never stop exploring the vast and beautiful landscape of the English language.
That's a beautiful message to end on.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights and expertise.
It's been my pleasure.
With us today.
And to all our listeners out there, keep those vocabulary muscles flexed.
I like it.
Challenge yourself to learn new words. Use them in your conversations and writing. And most importantly, have fun with the process.
Thanks for joining us on Chat Like a Native. We'll be back next time with another deep dive into the fascinating world of English fluency. Until then, happy chatting.